The paint dripped from the brush as Xavier carefully traced the outline of a giraffe along the pale yellow wall, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool spring breeze flowing through the open window. He'd been working since dawn, determined to finish this nursery by the end of the day, not just because he needed the money, but because something about creating this space for a child he'd never meet filled his weary heart with purpose. "Daddy, is it almost done?" 6-year-old Mia's voice echoed from the doorway where she sat cross-legged, her coloring book sprawled before her, crayons scattered across the plastic drop cloth he'd carefully laid down. "Almost, sweetie. Just need to add some details to Mr. Giraffe here, and then we can pack up and head home." Ryan smiled at his daughter, grateful that the school had an unexpected teacher workday. Usually, he'd have to scramble for childcare, but today she could keep him company on this job, a blessing and a necessity rolled into one. Ryan hadn't planned on being a single father, just as he hadn't planned on being a struggling painter, taking whatever jobs came his way. But life had other ideas when his wife walked out 3 years ago, leaving him with a toddler and a mountain of debt. He'd abandoned his architecture degree to work full-time, piecing together an existence through handyman work and painting jobs like this one. "I think the giraffe needs spots," Mia offered helpfully, abandoning her coloring book to stand beside him, her small hand resting on his paint-splattered jeans. Ryan chuckled. "You're absolutely right. What kind of giraffe doesn't have spots?" He dipped his brush into the light brown paint and handed Mia a smaller brush. "Want to help? You can reach the bottom spots." Mia's eyes widened with excitement as she carefully took the brush. "Really, I can help, of course." "Just be careful not to." The sound of the front door opening downstairs made them both freeze. Ryan glanced at his watch. It was only 2 p.m. The real estate agent had assured him no one would be stopping by until tomorrow's open house. "Stay here, sweetie," Ryan said quietly, setting down his brush and wiping his hands on a rag. He made his way down the curved staircase of the impressive suburban home, easily worth over $1 million with its soaring ceilings and custom finishes. The kind of place he used to dream of designing, before life took a different turn. Standing in the foyer was a woman Ryan had never seen before. Tall and composed in a tailored charcoal suit, her caramel-colored hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, she was studying a stack of mail with such intensity that she hadn't noticed him yet. "Excuse me," Ryan said, causing her to look up sharply. The woman's eyes, a startling green that reminded him of summer leaves, widened in surprise. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice carrying authority despite her evident confusion. "Xavier. I'm the painter Linda Morales hired to finish the nursery before tomorrow's open house." He extended his hand, then realized it was still smudged with yellow paint and quickly withdrew it. "Sorry about that." The woman's expression shifted from confusion to understanding. "You're painting the nursery." Something unreadable flickered across her face. "I wasn't aware she'd hired someone." "Are you from the real estate company?" Ryan asked, increasingly uncomfortable. He needed this job, needed the $500 it would bring to cover Mia's overdue after-school program fees. She hesitated before answering. "No, I'm Willow Greenfield. I own the house." Ryan felt his stomach drop. The real estate agent had specifically told him the owners were out of town until the weekend. "I'm so sorry, Miss Greenfield. I was told you wouldn't be here. If this is a bad time, I can pack up and come back tomorrow." "No, it's fine," she said, setting down her mail on a marble-topped entry table. "I had to return early for a meeting. Please continue with your work." Before Ryan could respond, the patter of small feet announced Mia's arrival as she bounded down the stairs. "Daddy, I did a spot all by myself," she exclaimed proudly, oblivious to the tension in the air. Then, noticing Willow, she stopped and offered a shy wave. "Hello, are you the princess who lives in this castle?" The unexpected question broke the tension, and Willow's serious expression melted into a genuine smile. "I'm afraid not. Just the regular person who owns the house. What's your name?" "I'm Xavier. I'm 6 3/4. My daddy's painting animals in the baby room, and he let me help with the spots." She held up her paint-speckled hands as evidence. Ryan felt a flush of embarrassment. "I'm sorry about bringing my daughter." Her school had an unexpected closure today, and I couldn't find anyone to watch her on short notice. Willow studied him for a moment, her expression softening. It's not a problem. Would you like to show me what you've done so far? Ryan led Willow upstairs to the nursery, acutely aware of the vast differences between them. While his jeans and t-shirt were spattered with years of paint stains, her suit probably cost more than he made in a month. The third bedroom of her house was larger than the entire apartment he shared with Mia. "I've finished most of the mural," Ryan explained as they entered the room. "Just adding final details to the animals now. The safari theme was in the specifications the real estate agent gave me." Willow stood silent, taking in the transformed space. Ryan had painted a gentle savanna landscape around the room, rolling hills in the distance, a watering hole, acacia trees stretching their branches across one wall, and various animals, elephants, lions, monkeys, and the giraffe he'd been working on scattered throughout the scene. "It's beautiful," she finally said, her voice quiet. "Much better than I expected." Mia tugged at Willow's sleeve. "Do you have a baby coming to live here?" Ryan saw a flash of something pain cross Willow's face before she composed herself. "No, I don't," she said carefully. "I was preparing this room, but plans changed. That's why I'm selling the house." "Oh," Mia said, processing this information. "That's sad. It's a really nice room for a baby." An awkward silence fell, and Ryan cleared his throat. "We should let Miss Greenfield get back to her business, Mia. We need to finish up here." "Actually," Willow said, checking her watch, "I have some time before my next meeting. Would it be okay if I watched you work for a bit? It's nice seeing the house being appreciated." Something in her tone made Ryan nod. "Of course, it's your house." For the next hour, Ryan worked on the details of the mural while Mia chattered happily to Willow, showing her how to make giraffe spots and asking endless questions about the house and why it had so many bathrooms. To his surprise, Willow answered patiently, sitting cross-legged on the floor with his daughter as if she had nowhere more important to be. "What do you do when you're not painting other people's houses?" Willow asked Ryan as he added texture to the elephant's hide. "Anything that pays the bills," he answered honestly. "Handyman work mostly, some commercial painting jobs when I can get them." He hesitated, then added, "I was studying architecture before Mia was born, never quite finished." "You have an architect's eye," she observed, studying the way he'd created depth in the landscape. "The perspective in this mural is technically perfect." Ryan looked at her in surprise. "You know about architectural perspective?" "I should," she said with a small smile. "I'm the CEO of Greenfield Development Group. We build commercial properties throughout the Northeast." The paintbrush nearly slipped from Ryan's fingers. Greenfield Development was one of the largest commercial real estate developers in the region. He'd studied their innovative designs in his university courses. "Wow," was all he managed to say. Willow's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. "I need to head to my meeting," she said, rising gracefully. "Please lock up when you're finished." And she hesitated, glancing around the room once more. "Thank you for making this space so beautiful." After she left, Ryan tried to focus on finishing the mural, but found his thoughts continually drifting to Willow Greenfield, not just because she was strikingly beautiful, which she undeniably was, but because of the gentle way she'd spoken with Mia, and the sadness that had flickered in her eyes when his daughter had asked about a baby. "I like her," Mia declared as they packed up their supplies. "She's nice and pretty." "Yes, she is," Ryan agreed, wiping a smudge of paint from his cheek. "Now let's clean up so we can stop by the grocery store on the way home. It's spaghetti night, with the red sauce and the cheese." Mia asked hopefully, "Would it be spaghetti night without them?" Ryan smiled, trying to push away the thoughts of Willow Greenfield and the life she represented, a life so different from his own. The next morning, Ryan returned to add the final touches to the nursery, expecting the house to be empty. Instead, he found Willow in the kitchen, laptop open on the massive island, papers spread around her. "Good morning," she said, looking up as he hesitated in the doorway. "Coffee." She gestured to an elaborate espresso machine that looked like it belonged in a high-end cafe. "Thanks, but I brought my own," Ryan said, lifting his battered travel mug. "I didn't expect you to be here." "I'm working from home today," she explained. The open house isn't until 4, so I thought I'd get some work done here before I need to clear out. She paused. Where's Mia today? School. Regular schedule today, thankfully. He shifted his weight, unsure of the protocol for casual conversation with a millionaire CEO whose nursery he was painting. I should get started upstairs. I just need to add some final highlights and touch-ups. Of course. Willow nodded, turning back to her laptop, then stopped him as he turned to leave. Ryan, there's something I'd like to discuss with you when you have a moment. His mind immediately went to worst-case scenarios. She changed her mind about the mural, decided not to pay him, found some flaw in his work. I have a moment now, he said, bracing himself. It's about your background in architecture, she said, surprising him. I was curious about what specifically you studied and how close you were to finishing your degree. The question caught him off guard. I was in my final year at Boston Architectural College, just 3 courses short of graduation when my ex-wife left and I became Mia's full-time parent. He wasn't sure why he was telling her this, except that there was something in her direct gaze that invited honesty. Willow nodded thoughtfully. Would you be interested in finishing? With your talent, it seems like a waste not to. Ryan let out a short laugh. Of course I'd be interested. But between working full-time and raising Mia, it's just not in the cards right now. Maybe when she's older. I see. Willow made a note on her tablet. Well, don't let me keep you. I'm looking forward to seeing the finished mural. Ryan spent the morning adding final touches to the nursery, periodically hearing Willow's voice drift up from downstairs as she conducted business calls. Her tone shifted between warm and steely, depending on the conversation, a CEO's voice, commanding respect. By noon, he was adding his signature to the bottom corner of the mural when Willow appeared in the doorway. It's finished, he said, stepping back to let her see the completed work. The nursery had been transformed into a vibrant yet soothing safari world. Sunlight spilled through the windows, bringing the painted savanna to life, making the animals seem almost ready to leap from the walls. It was the best work he'd done in years, possibly ever. Willow stood silent for so long that Ryan began to worry she was disappointed. Is something wrong? He finally asked. She shook her head slowly, still looking at the mural. No, it's perfect, better than I imagined. She turned to face him. This room was supposed to be for my daughter. The simple statement hung in the air between them, laden with unspoken grief. I'm sorry, Ryan said softly, understanding washing over him. If you don't mind me asking, what happened? Willow moved to the window, looking out at the carefully landscaped backyard. Nothing dramatic, no tragedy to report. I was in the process of adopting as a single mother. Had been working on it for nearly 2 years. The nursery, this house in the suburbs, it was all part of creating a home for her. Then 3 months ago, the birth mother changed her mind. That's still a loss, Ryan said. I'm sorry you had to go through that. The rational part of me understands completely. What mother wouldn't have second thoughts about giving up her child? Willow's voice was steady, but Ryan could hear the pain underneath. But I had already started loving a child I'd never met, started planning our life together. She gestured to the room. Hence, the safari nursery for a baby who will never sleep here. Is that why you're selling? Ryan asked. She nodded. Too many dreams built into these walls. I'm going back to my condo in the city. Before Ryan could respond, his phone rang Mia's school. His heart sank as he answered. Mr. Xavier? This is Nurse Benton from Lincoln Elementary. Mia has a fever of 101. She needs to be picked up as soon as possible. Ryan looked at his watch, mentally calculating. The bus would take nearly an hour and he couldn't afford a taxi across town. I'll be there as soon as I can, he promised, ending the call. Problem? Willow asked, noting his expression. Mia's sick. I need to pick her up from school, but I'm between cars right now. He started gathering his supplies quickly. I'm sorry, I'll drive you, Willow said decisively. Ryan stared at her. You don't need to do that, I can take the bus. Don't be ridiculous, your daughter is sick, I have a car and time. She was already heading downstairs. Consider it a thank you for the beautiful mural. 20 minutes later, Ryan was sliding into the passenger seat of Willow's sleek Audi SUV, trying not to gawk at the leather interior and digital dashboard that looked like something from a spaceship. As Willow navigated through traffic with the same confident efficiency she seemed to apply to everything, Ryan found himself studying her profile. In casual clothes, dark jeans, and a simple blue sweater, she looked younger, less intimidating than she had in her business suit. "Thank you for this," he said as they pulled up to the elementary school. "It would have taken me at least an hour by bus." "It's nothing," she replied. "I'll wait here while you get her." Ryan returned minutes later with a pale Mia leaning against his side. When she saw Willow in the driver's seat, her feverish face brightened slightly. "You came too," she said, climbing into the back seat. "I thought your dad could use some help," Willow replied, handing back a bottle of water from her console. "Drink some of this. It'll make you feel better." On the drive to Ryan's apartment, Mia dozed while he gave directions, increasingly self-conscious as they left the nicer neighborhoods behind and entered his working-class area. "It's the brick building on the left," he said finally. "Again, I can't thank you enough." To his surprise, Willow parked and turned off the engine. "Let me help you get her inside," she said, her tone making it clear this wasn't a suggestion. Ryan's embarrassment deepened as he led Willow up 3 flights of stairs. The elevator had been broken for months, to their small 2-bedroom apartment. He was acutely aware of the peeling paint in the hallway, the scuffed door, and the cramped living space that served as his office, Mia's playroom, and their dining area. Willow, however, showed no reaction as she helped settle Mia on the couch, found a clean glass for water, and asked where he kept the children's medicine. "Second cabinet in the bathroom," Ryan said, placing a cool washcloth on Mia's forehead. "But you don't have to." "I know I don't have to," Willow interrupted, returning with the medicine. "I want to help." For the next hour, they took care of Mia together, Willow reading her stories while Ryan prepared chicken soup, taking her temperature, and making sure she stayed hydrated. When Mia finally fell asleep, they moved to the small kitchen table. "You're good with her," Ryan observed, pouring them each a cup of tea. "For someone who doesn't have kids." "I've been preparing to be a mother for 2 years, Willow said with a small smile. "I've read every parenting book ever published, I think. Books are one thing. Real kids are another," Ryan said, then immediately regretted his words. "I'm sorry, that was insensitive." "No, you're right," she said. "All the theory in the world doesn't compare to actual experience." "You're a wonderful father, Ryan. Mia is lucky to have you." He glanced at his sleeping daughter, her cheeks still flushed with fever. "I'm the lucky one. She's the reason I get up every morning, the reason I keep going when things get tough." He looked around their modest apartment. "I wish I could give her more, though. A house with a yard, a room of her own that's bigger than a closet, summer camps and dance lessons. You give her what matters most," Willow said quietly. "Love, security, your time and attention." "I've seen enough wealthy children raised by nannies to know that all the material advantages in the world don't compensate for an absent parent." Something in her tone made Ryan wonder about her own childhood, but before he could ask, his phone buzzed with a text. "Damn," he muttered, reading the message. "The Johnson job just canceled. That's next week's rent gone." He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "Sorry, you don't need to hear about my problems." Willow studied him thoughtfully. "Actually, I might have a solution if you're interested. My company is renovating the executive floor of our headquarters. We need someone with an eye for design to oversee the aesthetic elements, colors, finishes, lighting. It would be a 3-month contract to start, with the potential for more work if it goes well." Ryan stared at her, waiting for the punchline. "You're offering me a job. You barely know me." "I know your work," she countered. "That nursery shows exceptional talent and attention to detail. I also checked your references this morning. Linda Morales spoke very highly of your previous projects. I appreciate the offer, but I don't have the credentials for corporate design work. I never finished my degree, remember? You have the talent and the eye. The degree is a technicality." Willow leaned forward. "The position comes with flexible hours and a substantial pay increase from what you're making now. You could work around Mia's schedule." It sounded too good to be true, which in Ryan's experience meant it probably was. "Why would you do this for me?" Willow's expression turned serious. "Because I recognize talent when I see it. Because the mural you created moved me deeply, and because—" She hesitated. "I like you, Ryan. I like your dedication to your daughter and your honesty. This isn't charity, it's a business decision. My company needs someone with your skills." From the couch, Mia stirred and called out for water. The conversation paused as Ryan attended to his daughter, giving him time to process Willow's unexpected offer. Over the next week, as Mia recovered from what turned out to be a mild flu, Ryan found himself texting regularly with Willow. What started as updates about Mia's health evolved into conversations about architecture, design, their favorite books, and eventually their lives before they met. Willow shared stories about growing up as the daughter of the company's founder, the pressure to prove herself worthy of leadership in a male-dominated industry, and her decision to pursue single motherhood after a series of relationships that failed due to her demanding career. Ryan told her about his parents who had died in a car accident when he was in college, his whirlwind romance and marriage that dissolved when his ex-wife decided parenthood wasn't for her, and his struggle to balance fatherhood with making a living. 10 days after their first meeting, Ryan started his new position at Greenfield Development. The work was challenging but rewarding, allowing him to use skills that had lain dormant for years. Willow kept their professional interactions strictly business at the office, but after hours, they began meeting for coffee or early dinners, sometimes with Mia, sometimes alone. "You haven't sold your house yet," Ryan remarked one evening as they walked through a park near his apartment, Mia running ahead to the playground. "I took it off the market," Willow admitted. "After seeing what you did with the nursery, I couldn't let someone else have it." "Are you thinking of trying to adopt again?" he asked carefully. She was quiet for a moment, watching Mia climb the jungle gym. "I'm not sure. The process was emotionally draining, and I'm not eager to put myself through that heartbreak again, but I still want to be a mother." She glanced at him. "Being around you and Mia has only reinforced that." As spring turned to summer, their relationship deepened. Willow helped Mia plant a container garden on the apartment's tiny balcony. Ryan assisted Willow with redesigning her home office. They celebrated Mia's 7th birthday with a trip to the aquarium, followed by ice cream and presents. One weekend in July, Willow invited them to spend the day at her house, which Mia still insisted on calling the castle. As Ryan grilled burgers on the patio while Willow and Mia splashed in the pool, he was struck by how natural it felt, the three of them together, like a family. Later that evening, after Mia had fallen asleep on the couch watching a movie, Ryan and Willow sat on the back porch, sharing a bottle of wine. "I have a confession," Willow said, her voice soft in the gathering twilight. "I knew who you were before you came to paint the nursery." Ryan looked at her in confusion. "What do you mean? Linda didn't just randomly hire you. I saw your portfolio online when she was looking for artists. I was impressed with your previous murals, especially the one you did for the children's hospital." She swirled the wine in her glass. "I may have suggested she hire you specifically." "Why didn't you tell me this before?" Willow shrugged slightly. "At first, it didn't seem important. Then, after we met, I was afraid you might think I had orchestrated everything that followed, that I had some kind of agenda." Ryan considered this. "Did you have an agenda?" "No," she said firmly, meeting his eyes. "I never expected to feel this way about you, about both of you." She glanced through the window at Mia's sleeping form. "These past few months have been the happiest of my life, Ryan. I've fallen in love with you, your integrity, your devotion to Mia, your talent and humor and kindness." Ryan reached for her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "I've fallen in love with you too," he admitted, "but I've been afraid to say it. Our worlds are so different, are they?" She interrupted. "We both value family, hard work, creativity. We both know what it's like to face loss and disappointment. The rest is just circumstances." He smiled, lifting her hand to his lips. "When you put it that way." 3 months later, Ryan and Mia moved into Willow's house. The safari nursery remained unchanged, but the room across the hall became Mia's new bedroom, which she helped design with underwater themes inspired by their aquarium visit. Ryan continued working for Greenfield Development, eventually heading a new division focused on sustainable community spaces. He finally completed his architecture degree, with Willow attending his graduation alongside a cheering Mia. On Christmas Eve, with the house decorated for the holidays and Mia excitedly arranging cookies for Santa, Ryan proposed to Willow beside the fireplace, using a ring he'd saved for months to purchase. "Are you sure?" Willow asked, tears shimmering in her eyes. "Your life was so much simpler before me." "Simpler maybe, but not better," he said, sliding the ring onto her finger. "You and Mia are everything to me. We belong together." Their wedding the following spring was small and intimate, held in the backyard where they'd shared that first evening together. Mia served as flower girl, beaming with pride as she watched her father marry the woman she'd once thought was a princess. A year later, they received the call they'd been hoping for. A newborn boy needed a home, and the adoption agency had selected them as his parents. This time, Ryan and Willow prepared the nursery together, adding new animals to the safari scene and placing a rocking chair by the window. On the day they brought baby Ethan home, Mia insisted on being the first to show him his room, proudly pointing out each animal her father had painted. "I helped with the giraffe spots," she told her new brother as he blinked up from Willow's arms. "That was the day we met Mom." "She wasn't our mom then, but Daddy painted her this room and that's how they fell in love." "It's a bit more complicated than that," Willow said with a laugh, looking at Ryan over Mia's head. "No," Ryan said, putting his arms around his family. "Mia has it exactly right. I painted a nursery, found a family, and got the happily ever after I never thought possible." As they stood together in the room that had once represented Willow's dashed hopes, now filled with the sounds of their children and the promise of their future, Ryan thought about the twists of fate that had brought them here: a single job, a sick child, a moment of connection. "I love our story," Willow whispered, as if reading his thoughts. "Me too," Ryan said, kissing her softly. "Every single chapter." Outside, the sun was setting, casting golden light through the windows and bringing the painted savanna to life one more time, a reminder of endings that become beginnings and dreams that find new ways to come true.